The cobblestones of Montmartre glistened under the early evening drizzle as Margot Robbie pulled her baseball cap lower over her eyes. She'd deliberately chosen the most unremarkable outfit she could find in her hotel room: faded jeans, worn sneakers, and an oversized hoodie that had seen better days. No makeup, no jewelry, no sign of the glamorous actress the world knew her to be. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," Leonardo DiCaprio said with a grin, falling into step beside her. His own disguise was equally casual: gray sweatpants, a rumpled t-shirt, and a jacket that had clearly been through several washing cycles. "That's the point, Leo," Margot laughed, dodging a puddle. "When's the last time you walked through Paris without being mobbed?" Leo considered this, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Honestly? Never. This is liberating." They'd been in the city for 3 days, attending a private film festival screening that had been kept strictly under wraps. The paparazzi hadn't caught wind of their presence yet, and both actors were determined to keep it that way. For once, they wanted to experience Paris like ordinary people, to wander the streets, discover hidden cafes, and eat at places that weren't recommended by their assistants or publicists. There, Margot pointed to a small bistro tucked between a vintage bookshop and a flower stand. Le Petit Coq. Perfect. The restaurant was exactly what they'd been hoping for: intimate, authentic, with the kind of worn wooden floors and mismatched chairs that spoke of decades of genuine Parisian dining. Through the steamed windows, they could see locals engaged in animated conversations over wine and simple, hearty food. They approached the heavy wooden door, already imagining the warm welcome and the perfect end to their anonymous adventure. The restaurant's interior glowed with soft candlelight, and through the windows they could see couples sharing intimate conversations over wine, families celebrating quietly, and solo diners absorbed in books while savoring their meals. The atmosphere seemed perfect, exactly the kind of authentic Parisian experience they'd been craving. Leo reached for the handle just as a stern-faced man in an impeccably pressed suit appeared from within. "Excusez-moi," the man said, his English heavily accented but clear. "I am Jean-Claude Beaumont, the owner. I'm afraid we have dress code here." Margot and Leo exchanged glances. "We're just looking for dinner," Margot said politely. "Nothing fancy." Jean-Claude's eyes swept over them critically, taking in Leo's sweatpants and Margot's makeup-free face. "This is not McDonald's," he said with barely concealed disdain. "We serve proper French cuisine to proper clientele. Perhaps you try the café down the street." "We have money," Leo said, pulling out his wallet. "We can pay." "Money is not the issue," Jean-Claude replied, already turning away. "It is respect. Respect for the establishment, respect for other diners. You dress like tourists who think Paris is their playground." The door closed with a decisive click, leaving Margot and Leo standing on the wet sidewalk, stunned into silence. The sound echoed in the narrow street, punctuated only by the distant hum of traffic and the soft patter of rain beginning to fall again. Inside the restaurant, they could see Jean-Claude straightening his tie and returning to his other customers with a satisfied expression, as if he'd just performed some noble duty. A few passers-by glanced at them curiously, 2 bedraggled figures standing motionless in front of the elegant bistro, clearly having been turned away. One elderly French woman shook her head sympathetically as she passed, muttering something under her breath about les propriétaires prétentieux. "Did that really just happen?" Margot asked, staring at the closed door. Leo started to laugh, a genuine, delighted sound that echoed off the narrow street. "We just got kicked out of a restaurant for looking too normal. This is fantastic." "Fantastic?" Margot raised an eyebrow. "When's the last time someone treated us like regular people? Even if it's to insult us?" Leo gestured broadly. "No special treatment, no ass-kissing, just good old-fashioned snobbery. It's almost refreshing." Margot found herself smiling despite the rejection. "You have a point. Though I am getting hungry." "Pizza," Leo declared. "There's a place 2 blocks over that looked promising." And if they kick us out too, we'll eat on the sidewalk. As they walked away from Le Petit Coq, neither of them noticed the young waiter who had witnessed the entire exchange through the window. Pierre Moreau was a film student working part-time to pay for his education, and he had immediately recognized both actors despite their casual attire. He watched in dismay as his boss turned away two of his favorite performers, but Jean-Claude was not a man to be contradicted by junior staff. The pizza place, a cheerful hole-in-the-wall called Mama Rosa's, welcomed them with open arms and no questions asked. The moment they stepped inside, the contrast couldn't have been starker. Where Le Petit Coq had been all polished surfaces and calculated elegance, Mama Rosa's was pure warmth and chaos. The walls were covered with faded photographs of Italy, handwritten notes from satisfied customers, and children's drawings that Giuseppe had apparently been collecting for years. The air was thick with the scent of garlic, oregano, and wood-fired ovens. The owner, a jovial Italian man named Giuseppe, looked up from behind the counter where he was tossing dough with practiced ease. His face immediately broke into a smile that seemed to encompass his entire being. Benvenuti. Welcome, welcome. You look hungry, yes? And wet. Come, sit, I make you something special. He didn't wait for an answer, already moving toward the oven while gesturing for them to take seats at the small counter. Giuseppe served them enormous slices and engaged them in conversation about everything except movies. For 2 hours, they sat on mismatched stools, eating some of the best pizza they'd ever tasted and talking to Giuseppe about his family, his dreams of opening a restaurant in Rome, and his theory that the secret to good pizza was treating every customer like family. This, Leo said, gesturing with a piece of pizza, is exactly what we needed. Giuseppe doesn't care that I look like I've been sleeping in a car, Margot agreed. You look beautiful, Giuseppe called from behind the counter. Natural beauty is the best beauty. My wife, she never wear makeup, and she is the most beautiful woman in the world. They stayed until Giuseppe began closing up, helping him stack chairs and sweep the floor. As they prepared to leave, the elderly man refused to accept payment. You make my evening special, he insisted. You remind me why I love this business. You come back anytime, yes? Walking back through the winding streets toward their hotel, both actors felt a contentment they hadn't experienced in years. The rain had stopped, and the city sparkled under the streetlights like something from a movie. We should do this more often, Margot said. Just disappear and be normal people. Define normal, Leo laughed. We just got rejected by one restaurant and adopted by another in the same evening. Back at Le Petit Coq, Pierre Moreau was having a sleepless night. He'd spent hours on his phone, confirming what he already knew. The two people his boss had turned away were indeed Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio. By morning, he'd made his decision. Jean-Claude arrived at the restaurant to find his young waiter waiting by the door, laptop in hand. Pierre, what are you doing here so early? Monsieur Beaumont, Pierre began carefully, do you remember the couple you turned away yesterday evening? The tourists in the sweatpants? What about them? Pierre turned his laptop screen toward his boss. On it was a clear photograph of Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio at the Cannes Film Festival, both dressed in designer evening wear and surrounded by photographers. Jean-Claude's face went through several rapid color changes. Non, ce n'est pas possible. It's them, Pierre confirmed. Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio. They were trying to have a quiet dinner, and we. Mon Dieu, Jean-Claude whispered, sinking into a chair. What have I done? The realization hit him like a physical blow. He'd not only insulted two of the world's biggest movie stars, but he'd done so in the most publicly humiliating way possible. If word got out, and in the age of social media, it inevitably would, his reputation would be destroyed. We have to fix this, he said frantically. Can you find out where they're staying? Pierre shook his head. But maybe we could apologize publicly? Show that we recognize our mistake? Within hours, Le Petit Coq's social media accounts were filled with abject apologies. Jean-Claude had crafted a statement in both French and English, acknowledging his error and inviting the stars back for a proper meal. The post went viral within minutes, shared thousands of times by amused users who couldn't believe a restaurant owner had turned away Hollywood royalty. The story spread across entertainment news sites, with headlines ranging from "DiCaprio and Robbie snubbed by snooty Paris Bistro" to "When keeping it real goes wrong, A-listers rejected for casual dress." Meanwhile, the objects of all this attention were blissfully unaware of the online frenzy. They'd spent the morning exploring the Louvre, successfully unrecognized thanks to their continued commitment to looking as ordinary as possible. It wasn't until they returned to their hotel for lunch that their publicists reached them with the news. "It's everywhere," Margot's assistant said breathlessly over the phone. "The story's been picked up by every major entertainment outlet. The restaurant's been calling all morning begging for a comment." Leo and Margot sat in Leo's hotel suite, scrolling through the coverage on their phones with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. "Look at this," Margot said, showing him a meme someone had created featuring their faces photoshopped onto tourists with fanny packs and cameras. "We've become a joke." "A good joke though," Leo pointed out. "Listen to this comment, even celebrities can't escape Parisian restaurant snobbery. At least they're like the rest of us." Their phones were buzzing constantly with interview requests and calls from late-night talk show producers. The story had captured public imagination in a way that transcended typical celebrity gossip. It was relatable, funny, and refreshingly human. "We should say something," Margot said. "People are really getting a kick out of this." Leo was already typing on his phone. "How about this, pizza tastes better on the sidewalk anyway. Especially with good company." The tweet was posted from Leo's verified account within minutes and immediately began racking up likes and retweets. The simple, good-humored response only endeared him further to fans who appreciated his ability to laugh at the situation. But the real surprise came that evening. Giuseppe from Mama Rosa's had been following the story online with growing amazement. When he realized that his mysterious customers from the previous night were famous actors, he had his own moment of panic, until he read Leo's tweet. Giuseppe's response, posted from the official Mama Rosa's account, was simple but perfect: "Our sidewalk is always open for real people who love real pizza. Thank you for reminding us why we cook with love." The exchange between Leo and Giuseppe became the feel-good story of the week. Major news outlets picked up the contrast between the two restaurants' responses, holding up Mama Rosa's as an example of authentic hospitality while gently mocking Le Petit Coq's snobbery. Jean-Claude's restaurant, meanwhile, was experiencing an unexpected boom. Curious tourists flocked to Le Petit Coq hoping to glimpse the infamous owner or perhaps experience their own celebrity rejection. Jean-Claude, having learned his lesson about judging customers by their appearance, welcomed everyone with newfound humility. A week later, Margot and Leo were back in Los Angeles, but the Paris story continued to resonate. They'd both received dozens of invitations from restaurants around the world, promising to welcome them regardless of attire. Fashion magazines wrote articles about the freedom of dressing down, and social media was flooded with #casual celebrity photos from fans embracing the no-makeup, sweatpants lifestyle. "You realize what we've started?" Margot said during a phone call with Leo. "There are actual think pieces being written about celebrity authenticity and the importance of treating everyone with respect." "All because we wanted pizza," Leo replied. "Though Giuseppe's place has been booked solid since the story broke. He called to thank us. Apparently he's finally got enough business to consider that Rome expansion." The story took on a life of its own, becoming a case study in business schools about customer service and the power of social media. Jean-Claude was invited to speak at hospitality conferences about learning from mistakes, while Giuseppe found himself featured in travel guides as the owner of Paris's most welcoming pizzeria. Months later, when Margot and Leo were both back in Paris for separate projects, they made it a point to visit Mama Rosa's again. This time, they weren't alone. Word had spread through Hollywood, and several other celebrities had made pilgrimages to the little pizzeria where you could eat in peace without judgment. Giuseppe greeted them like old friends, refusing once again to accept payment and introducing them to his wife, who had flown in from Italy specifically to meet the nice people who helped make our dreams come true. As they sat on the same mismatched stools, eating pizza and watching Giuseppe charm a table of tourists with stories about his family recipes, Leo turned to Margot with a smile. "Best meal I've ever had," he said. "Even better than the first time," Margot agreed. "Though I think Giuseppe's added us to his family permanently." From behind the counter, Giuseppe called out cheerfully, "You are always family here. But next time, you tell me before you make me famous on the internet, yes?" The laughter that followed echoed through the small restaurant and out onto the street, where passers-by smiled without knowing why, touched by the simple joy of genuine connection in a world that too often values appearance over authenticity. And somewhere across the city, Jean-Claude was serving dinner to a young couple in jeans and sneakers, making sure they felt welcomed and valued, having learned that sometimes the most important customers are the ones who don't look important at all. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.